Manchester United have struggled since Sir Alex Ferguson left the football club. Consistency has been a problem. There's been some peaks, there's been some trophies, but overall longevity and the improvement over time has been a real issue. Enter Ruben Amorim, a manager that has favoured a 3-4-2-1 in his managerial career so far. On paper that goes against Manchester United's history of playing attacking football with wingers, but if we dive a little bit deeper into Amorim's philosophy and his ideas, there are some similarities. But anyway guys, it's time to dive into the video. We're going to go through 3 reasons why Manchester United need Ruben Amorim's back 3. Firstly, a back 3 suits the Manchester United squad. There are a number of problem positions in the Manchester United team for a few seasons now. First up, left fullback has been a real problem with the injuries to Tyrell Malacia and Luke Shaw. But more commonly, Manchester United have lacked a defensive midfielder. Let's start with that wing-back position, because previously Manchester United have had Luke Shaw carrying from fullback, but you'd say he's more of a supporting player than a true attacker. In Amorim's system, these players are vitally important in the final third, which leads us to the first thing. Converting an attacker and playing to wing-back helps Manchester United's squad. That could be someone like Alejandro Garnacho playing a little bit deeper, or we could even see Harry Amas, who we previously had on screen, someone like Amad Diallo, or even the redemption arc of Antony. Antony's previously been used in that left-back position under Erik ten Hag and didn't quite like it, so he's going to have to step in straight away and enjoy the position, or Amorim is going to show him the door. Antony does have the potential to play that role, a good cross on his left foot, and it's a little different than him playing on the right side. When Antony's receiving on this right side, there's a lot more problems because he has to beat the opposition fullback with a move, either dribbling on the inside and checking in, or going on the outside and then cutting back to cross. Of course, being left-footed, it's something that Ruben Amorim likes in players. At times he plays 2 wing-backs that are both left-footed on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. So naturally what Antony could do on this left wing versus having to beat that fullback, early crosses into the box really become an option. When you think about the attacking talent that Manchester United could get into the area, a Højlund or a Xerxes or a Marcus Rashford, or an Amad on the back post, who scored that wonderful header just before the international break. There's options there, but I think Antony as a left wing back could really work. The pace that he lacks to really beat a Premier League fullback doesn't really have to happen. All he needs to do is work an opportunity to get a cross into the box. Also, when you're considering the player playing on the inside would be Bruno Fernandes, that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Antony to move off the ball and get in behind the defence, something that he's struggled since moving to the Premier League. Of course, that solves that problem, but as well, Amad Diallo could very much play that role, although I favour him more of the inside right channel, which brings us to Alejandro Garnacho, arguably one of Manchester United's best players this season. The big thing with Alejandro Garnacho, we have to remember he is a young player. Yes, his decision making isn't going to be like a prime Mohamed Salah right now, but he's a player that has the ability to really open up the door for Manchester United. In terms of the statistics, since the start of last season, no player has scored more non-penalty goals as a winger under the age of 21 in Europe's top 5 leagues. In terms of Alejandro Garnacho from this left wing position, of course, there's going to be a lot of options for him to attack the wide space. Something that he definitely needs to work on is kind of getting on the outside and putting crosses into the box. But we've already seen a bit of improvement already for United. And once again, similar to the idea with Antony being more of a deep crosser, someone that can open himself up, get the ball into the box early. With Garnacho, you want him to consistently hit that byline and then look for those cutbacks, something that he's improved in his game. But as well, what will help Garnacho is players making runs into the penalty area, and it's something that we see from Ruben Amorim's sides over and over again. Wing-backs getting into the box, both attacking midfielders getting into the box, and the number 9. Loading the box with more players will only help Garnacho's assist numbers. In terms of that role as well, we could see some real fluidity in the positioning, as we do see with Amorim's teams. The attacking midfielders pulling wide, allowing the wing-back to attack that central space. I'd argue that Garnacho in this inside left position will score a lot of goals. For me, he's an inside player versus an outside player, but I think he could still do a job on the wing given United's attacking talent. But again, if he's shifted in from that wing-back area, he's attacked that central space, we all know the quality he has from finishing from those positions. I think as well from those inside positions as well, could look for those through balls for his teammates. But the back three allows Manchester United to play a more attacking left wing back. Moving on to that kind of second issue we spoke about previously, not having a true number 6. Getting a top quality number 6 in European football now is very, very hard. The role is so important in a lot of teams. And you look at Rodri. Rodri is the best in the world of football. He can attack, he can defend, he can win the ball back, he can press, he can do everything. He's a very, very complete player and won the Ballon d'Or. That role is something that's very difficult to facilitate. I'd argue that without, looking further than Rodri, there isn't any players that are as complete as the Man City number 6. But the system that Ruben Amorim plays doesn't really require a number 6. More, you've got a box-to-box midfielder as the 8, and the number 6 is more of a ball-winning midfielder. He's the Kante profile, with players like Ugarte, Kobbie Mainoo, Casemiro, or even Bruno Fernandes deep. They're the type of players that work really well within this system. A box-to-box guy, and of course someone to win the ball back, which reduces the need to having a true defensive midfielder, a player that's going to sit in front of the back four and screen. Because you could argue as well that centre-back from a defensive position has to be super aggressive. When the ball is in transition or is in the air, that centre-back has got to be aggressive. The other two slightly narrow to basically make a back four from a defensive situation. So any long balls that come out from the back really need to be dealt with by that sort of central player. But also from a ground duel perspective, you will see that centre back engaging with the opposition's number 10 or number 9 if dropped off the line. Again, this reduces the need to having a true number 6. The system, the back three, allows Manchester United to navigate these problems just using their squad. But moving forward, it also gets the best out of a number of other players within the squad. First up, the wing-back position. Diogo Dalot has spent quite a bit of time inverting under Erik ten Hag, playing in that central area, getting on the ball and dictating. And yes, he's done that very well and it's improved his game. But I prefer Diogo Dalot high and wide, looking to get crosses into the box. If we rewind to last season, I think in the first sort of 5 games of the season, he could have got 3 or 4 or 5 assists playing on the outside. Remember a game against Brighton where he was fantastic from an attacking perspective. Mitoma was his man and he kept on dribbling, kept on getting really good deliveries into the box. This is something that I believe Diogo Dalot can do. Not only that, we've seen him work on his long range shooting, his passing, his tackling over the last few seasons, all statistics that have massively improved. But with Amorim's forwards, especially in these wide areas, call the wing backs forwards when the team gets into the attacking shape, they need to be able to carry into the box. Looking at Quenda's numbers in the Champions League this season, he's carried into the penalty area 2.13 times per 90, which is in the top 1% of fullbacks in the competition. And it's something that I believe Diogo Dalot can do on the outside, dribbling and then getting balls into the box. Again, creating more chances for Manchester United. And further than that, when we look at the centre-back position, we spoke about this previously, but the back three suits United centre-backs. From a real simplistic perspective, not only does it suit an aggressive stopping defender in Matthias de Ligt, but also when you're looking at the squad, someone like Harry Maguire could come in and play a very, very good role. Got to remember that Sebastian Coates was Amorim's central centre-back for a number of seasons. He's tall, he's big, he's old, he's not that quick on the turn. Similar things to Harry Maguire, which means Man United's squad has 2 centre-backs that could do a really good job. When we're looking at the outside centre-back, something that we spoke about many times before is that ability to play the passes in between the lines. This is something that was lost in Erik ten Hag's Man United. The weird thing is, you think about all the players that played under Ten Hag, that played under him again, and just didn't do the things they were previously doing. One of the reasons why Ten Hag got the sack, couldn't get the level out of players like Lisandro Martinez, Matthias de Ligt when building out from the back. Completely different Amorim system where the main progressors are on the outside. And if actually we look at the numbers of Martinez's passing, his progressive passes, his passes into the final third, Erik ten Hag at Ajax versus Man United, there is a massive, massive drop-off. But the benefit of playing this back three, allowing someone like Martinez to be that progressive guy and hopefully can get to the numbers where he was the best in Europe in his position. And that suits him from that sort of attacking perspective. And finally, why the back three suits Man United's squad, just from a tactical perspective, players on the inside. United's attackers are inside forwards. They're not wingers for me. You know, the likes of Marcus Rashford does his best work in the inside channels. Bruno Fernandes as well, very much a roaming, creative player. But then you look at Maino, Garnacho, blah, 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 blah. We've said this 10 times before. Very, very important. And this is why Amorim's back three suits Manchester United's squad and solves problems that they've had under previous managers. On to number 2. Teams that play with wing-backs and a back three generally overperform in football. The best example of this is Antonio Conte's Chelsea, who went from being a pretty inconsistent team the season before to being one of the best teams in Europe with their back three. Eden Hazard was a player reborn, Marcos Alonso and Victor Moses were converted to wing-backs and scored a hatful of goals, but overall defensively they were very, very solid. But there are a lot of different examples. You look at Nuno Espirito Santo's Wolverhampton Wanderers when they got promoted to the Premier League. They got to Europe for the first time in 39 years. Overperformance in this system and shape allows teams to really build over a long period of time. Moving on to another example, Thomas Tuchel took over mid-season as Chelsea manager, implemented a back three with wing-backs and won the Champions League. If that's not a great example, think about Brentford. In terms of their overperformance due to wage spend in the Premier League, in the seasons that they've been in the competition, it has been quite frankly ridiculous. Brentford's wage spend this season is the 19th best in the Premier League. They are massively overperforming that. But if you look at every season they've been in the competition, there's overperformance year in, year out. The back three not only allows you to be defensively good, but the wing backs give you so much in the final third, and we've seen that from Brentford under Thomas Frank over and over again. And one final example, Chris Wilder's Sheffield United. Before the break due to COVID-19 in football, they were 7th in the Premier League and they finished 9th overall. Wilder brought a brilliant style, the overlapping centre-backs, but it was all built on a back three and wing backs. And that's just the Premier League. And if we look at Europe and we think about teams over the last few seasons that have massively overperformed, surprise, surprise, a lot of them play a back three. Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen went unbeaten in the Bundesliga and won it last season. You're looking at Gasperini's Atalanta that won the Europa League against Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen. Going further, Inter Milan under Simeone Inzaghi not only have got to a Champions League final, but consistently dominated in Serie A, but also was very, very good with Lazio. Julian Nagelsmann's RB Leipzig, again, set with a back three, built out, played through the line, scored so many goals. All these examples at teams that are overperformed playing a back three and wing back, something that United are going to do in the Premier League. But why is this case? Why do teams overperform playing with this structure? A defensive back five directly counters the most popular attacking structures, that being a 2-3-5 or 3-2-5. The attacking five is the most popular because it naturally overloads the back four, which is the most popular defensive structure in modern football, creating a spare man on the back line. Meanwhile, a back three with wing backs removes this advantage, allowing you to go man to man. To counter this, teams often throw another body forward to create a front six, leaving fewer players in their rest defence to protect against the counter. Not only are the opposition playing an alternative shape to their regular system, but the back three is defending in a very natural way. Another reason why back threes can punch above their weight is they're generally fairly simplistic in attack, which isn't a bad thing. Pep Guardiola's famous Centurion team transitioned from their 4-3-3 because 6 players vacated their positions. The wingers would play extremely high and wide, the central midfielders would move behind the opposition's midfield line, and 2 fullbacks would invert into midfield, creating a 2-3-5 attacking structure. Whilst this allowed for total domination of the ball, it also left Guardiola's men extremely vulnerable in the transition, because if the initial counter press from the band of 3 was beaten, there would be a huge space for the 2 centre-backs to deal with. This type of fluid setup has become increasingly popular in modern football, and whilst it can be difficult to defend against, it can cause similar issues in the transition, with players out of position if the ball is turned over. Meanwhile, a back 3 setup often sees the wing-backs moving a significant distance out of position, providing a very solid rest defence. So teams that play a back 3 and wing-backs generally overperform. Manchester United, since Sir Alex Ferguson, have mainly underperformed, so this is going to be a big advantage. And the third reason why Man United need Ruben Amorim's back three is it opens up a completely new dimension and realm for transfers. If we think about it, playing a back three, the players within the system have different characteristics than you'd see from the big teams, a Liverpool or a Manchester City. You're not looking for free eights, you're not looking for inverted fullbacks, you're not looking for wingers to play wide, you're not really looking for false nines, which gives you a competitive advantage. You're looking for a different type of player to fit your system. I think the easiest way to visualize this, of course, is our example of Rodri before, our dedicated defensive midfielder. With Manchester United's system and shape, the responsibility of that position is taken up by the two areas of the team, the centre-back and the two defensive midfielders. As we mentioned previously, there's a number of different players you can play within these roles. Of course, for me, Kobbie Mainoo is going to be the number one in the United team to play this 8 role. Not only can he intercept, can he dribble, can he carry, but he has that ability to score goals as well from this position, something that United will need when they switch that 3-6-1 attacking structure. And that ability to carry through the lines is vitally important in Amorim's system. You think Matheus Nunes was a player like Mainoo, a player that carries, that dribbles, that plays higher, but again, a different profile to a dedicated number 6 that you'd see at Manchester City or Liverpool. Moving to the wide centre-back position as well, I think opens up a new area of recruitment. Not only will it mean that there's less kind of pressure on this position because there's 2 other centre-backs, which means youth can be introduced. You know, you're looking at the likes of Lenny Yoro, can easily play in a back 3 versus a back 2 in the Premier League because it's less rely on him to win every single one of his duels. Yeah, I do know that he's a very dominant defender, but what I mean there, it's easier to integrate these players into the position. But also, we could see a different profile of player playing there, you know, from a converted wing-back, or full-back, should I say, like a Luke Shaw playing as a wide centre-back, or someone like Mazraoui. Mazraoui has been so dominant in the Premier League, he's won more tackles than any other player in the competition this season, but also he's got the best defensive duel rate, which for this kind of area in Amorim's shape and system, you're thinking in the transition, having a player that's very, very good 1v1, you know, that can allow the rest of the team to kind of get back into shape. You know, you're thinking the far side wing back and the near side wing back. Having that ability to win 1v1 duels is vitally important in that position. But it's a different skill set than a normal centre-back. United can recruit for these types of players. Kind of these hybrid full-back, centre-back, wing-back positions are going to be vitally important for Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. And looking at wing-backs, they are probably the most unique position in football. Something that when you're not playing a dedicated back 3, you're probably not going to go for. When you're thinking about players in Europe, the likes of David Raum or even Marcos Alonso at Chelsea, very, very specialised players. Players that want to get the ball in the final third and simply cross the ball and get it into the penalty area. Something that United are looking at now is those types of characteristics versus fullbacks that are spending most of their time playing in central midfield. You know, a different skill set, receiving under pressure, turning, playing forward, versus having that natural ability to extend your stride and get a ball into the box. Very, very different, which give United an advantage in the market. And finally, the front 3. From a recruitment perspective, it allows you to be very, very nimble in the market because you're looking for those talented players to facilitate different roles in different setups. So let's just go through those kind of setups. First up, let's say Sporting Lisbon under Ruben Amorim. Manchester United could go with that. 2 attacking midfielders in Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes behind Marcus Rashford, very much operating as a channel forward. Gives Man United to have that option. Of course, recruiting in these positions, you're looking for attacking midfielders and a number 9 that's going to stay high. Again, these are players that frequently appear in European football, and there's always going to be a new one. Or alternatively, you could look at the kind of classic Liverpool approach in the Premier League, playing someone like Joshua Zirkzee as a bit of a false 9, maybe with kind of Bruno Fernandes a little bit deeper in midfield, with 2 kind of strikers, you know, in a sense of, you know, Amad Diallo and Marcus Rashford. You've got a false 9 dropping off the line, looking for balls into feet, and then the forwards to attack the space. Again, you're looking at different profiles of players. 2 inside forwards, 1 false 9 to drop off the line. This is something that we're not seeing in recruitment right now for the top sides. They're looking for forwards more like Haaland and wingers more like Savio or Cody Gakpo, whereas United could look at a different model with this sense. Alternatively, moving to other kind of iterations of what this could look like, you know, Bruno Fernandes, let's say, back into the team as the playmaker, kind of that channel or finishing forward on the right-hand side, and then maybe more of a target type player, you know, or a channel player like Erasmus Højlund, again, opening up a different idea. This is something that we've seen with Atalanta Atalanta over the years, time and time again, they've refreshed their attacking lineup. You know, going from the days of watching a Zapata playing with a Ilicic and a Papu Gomez in that playmaking role, to now when we're seeing it so fluid with Lookman, the Catalara, and a Rutegi through the middle. These combinations are very, very important. And finally, maybe looking at that kind of box crashing role for Manchester United. You know, let's take a look at that. You know, you could have Marcus Rashford and Rasmus Højlund playing in those kind of advanced areas, and Bruno Fernandes operating like the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer number 10, a guy that's going to get into the box and crash it, similar to when Atalanta play Pasalic in that position as a goal scorer. All this allows Man United to be super nimble in the transfer market because you're playing your strikers in these central areas. So it allows you to look at a completely different profile of player, and you can play it in so many different ways, which again, the base of the system stays the same. The roles in the kind of back seven players are quite fixed in a sense, and they're quite specialist roles, whereas the front three you can really move around with the market, and that is why the back three is going to give Manchester United the competitive advantage in the transfer market. But anyway guys, get into the comments below. Why do you think Man United need Ruben Amorim's back three? I've been Statman Dave, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you later.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel.